central time.
Works.
Okay, call this meeting, the Utility Service Board meeting to order. We'll take a roll call. Ashley?
Here.
Stan?
Here.
Jen?
Here.
Carla?
Present.
And Ron, I'm here, so all 5 members are here. Okay, the first thing is our attorney, Alicia, do you have anything for this meeting?
I don't have anything for this meeting.
Okay. The adjustment report, we'll do that later, like we always do. After we go. Okay, Mark, the utility report?
Okay, so the first item that's on my agenda there is the Sheffield Township Fire Department Insurance Service Rating. So next Monday at 4:30, I'm meeting with the Insurance Rating Agency and Sean Alcar. This is a process that's done once every 5 years. And that is, on our part, that's why they like to see that we have a ongoing hydrant maintenance, flushing, and flow testing program. So the hope is that the insurance rating for Dayton will increase. It's from 1 to 10. It will increase, and that therefore helps people's insurance rates go down. So we've been doing this flow testing and hydrant maintenance program for 3 years now. And we have all the data. I filled out all the paperwork that this agency needs, but I told Sean I would be there at 4:30 with our annual reports, just in case they needed any additional information, so we could hopefully present the best numbers we can, and it will do what it's supposed to do. One thing I didn't know was that, I just thought it was about Dayton. Well, it's not. It's about all of the area that Sheffield Township Fire Department covers. So, although we play a significant part in it, it's just not us, but hopefully it will be in our favor anyway. Okay? Any questions about that? Are you familiar with any of that from before, Ashley or Ron?
Meeting with the insurance company?
This process that goes on, do you remember it being done 5 years ago?
I really don't. No.
Ron? No, yeah, okay. Next item's under wastewater, so I'm probably gonna go ahead and, of course, we do a spring and fall maintenance on the lift stations. We have them come in, pump them out, clean them, make sure everything's drawing the right amount of amps. So cost us $1,500 in the spring and $1,500 in the fall, but I think it's money well spent, so I'll be scheduling that for this month. The fall grease trap and oil and grit chamber inspections, I've completed those, and these inspections in the spring and fall are required in our agreement with Lafayette Renew, just to show that we're doing our part to keep the system operating the way it should be. So those have been completed, and that'll be part of the annual report that I send them every February. Okay, so the 2021 Community Crossing project status and billing. So at 5:43 this evening, I got some good news. So Michael Mang, who is the town engineer for BF&S on the project, has been in communication with Doug Denny, who is the owner of the Midwest Paving, and I'll just read you the email that was sent this evening. It says, I wasn't at that meeting that you guys attended out there, but so you might know more about this than I do, but it says, Mr. Main, obviously our employees have a much different recollection of the verbal meeting on site. Please, at your earliest, have the limitations staked in the field that the owner wishes removed. Also provide layout work with proper grade stakes and grades with the 3-foot offset. Please let me know as soon as this is completed so we may gather our resources and begin. I must go on record stating that Midwest Paving does not agree with this conclusion. So, after I got this, I called Mike Smith this evening and I said, so, am I interpreting this correctly? And he said, yeah, so it does appear that they're going to replace those sections of the sidewalk. Just 30 minutes ago, I saw this reply from Michael Main to Doug Denny. It says, Mr. Denny, I have received your message and will communicate when the staking is completed. Thank you, Michael Main. So,
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. So this brings us to the next part. So, as of today, Midwest Paving had submitted 3 bills. One for, excuse me, for the concrete work, and that concrete work is the sidewalk and then all the driveway approaches on Cable's Mill, okay? They had submitted the bill for $52,423.96. I guess I should note first that BFNS has reviewed all these bills to make sure that the quantities were right and the amount is right, so they've approved of it. So bill number 1 was for all the concrete work, $52,423.96. Bill number 2, which was for the asphalt work, was $207,860.03.
Can you repeat that, please?
$207,860.03.
Thank you.
Bill number 3 was requesting release of the 10% retainage, which that is done once the engineers and the town signs off on anything. So that's kind of money you hold back just until everything's good. So back to bill number 1, the concrete work for $52,423.96. Of that portion, $29,827.70. So $29,827.70 was the bill, the item, the pay item for the church sidewalk. Okay, so this is where I'm going. So those 3 bills added together equaled $289,204.43. Okay? So $289,204.43. I do not recommend, and neither does BFNS, that you release that 10% retainage. I mean, we're not satisfied yet. I also let BFNS know that my recommendation is that we subtract the $29,827.70 for the sidewalk until it is repaired to our satisfaction. Okay, so if you take $289,204.43 and subtract the church sidewalk and the 10% retainage, we come to a total of $230,456.29.
What's the 10% amount, Mark?
That is retainage. It's
Oh no, like what's that? Do you have the actual dollar amount?
yeah, 28,920.44.
I'm sorry, one more time.
$28,920.44.
Thank you.
So my suggestion is that I recommend payment to Midwest Paving to honor our contract with them in the amount of $230,456.29. That is everything they've billed minus the retainage and minus the cost of the church cycle. So now we're open to discussion. See what you want to do.
So my first thought
Well, first I just want to like make this abundantly clear, the sidewalk that they're talking about is the one that was flooded, right?
Yes.
And all the flooded part, that's what's getting redone? Perfect, okay. My second thought, yes, I like this idea, but we have not seen those invoices yet. And so, because of the 5-day rule, I'm apprehensive.
This is you know, I understand what you're saying about this stuff, but this is these are signed contracts. These are, and in all honesty, if you saw this, you wouldn't understand what you're looking at. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but
Yeah,
these are signed contracts that we're obligated to, and anybody's welcome to see them.
well, we
It's
can
not that.
pay contracts ahead anyway, can't we? Okay, never mind.
But, and I'm more than happy to share it with you. I mean, they're just billings.
Never mind.
But I think that the way I safeguard the town and myself is I go to BF&S and I say, you need to review this billing,
Yeah.
and you need to make sure that the quantities are correct and the dollar amounts are correct. And that's how I look out for the town in doing that. But yeah, if you wanna wait,
No.
I mean, it doesn't matter to me one way or the other. I just know in previous CCMG contracts, this is a process we did.
Yeah. I was worried about the 5-day rule, but it's a contract, so it's,
And I don't know, does that mean that you don't have to because it's a
I
contract?
Right.
can get ahead of approval.
right.
Okay.
So it's like, not a worry anymore.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, besides that, so what do you think about that? Do you want to pay that much, or do you not want to? Do you want to pay more, or what do you think?
I think it's great, they're replacing it and everything. I talked to Mike Smith earlier today, and of course, he didn't know about they're gonna do the sidewalk, but he said that we need to keep the 10% plus 10,000 or so that they're gonna have to do to repair it. That'd be 35,000, and then we'd have plenty to pay back. If they
Yeah.
didn't do it, we had to have somebody else.
He's being a bit more generous than I am.
Yeah, so I think that's great, that's fantastic holding that amount.
I mean, if it was me and it was for me personally, I would say, yeah, I'm gonna pay you this, but we're gonna sit tight on this until everybody's happy,
Yeah.
you know? So, but we can do it any way you want to, you know? Ashley, what do you think?
I agree with you.
Stan,
Yeah, I agree.
do you wanna look at these?
No,
Okay. Carla?
I mean, not right this second.
Sure.
What was that dollar amount that you're recommending again?
$230,456.29.
I'll make a motion that we,
Wait, hang on, just Carla, do you have any thoughts?
Well, I would like to see the bill at some point, yes,
Sure.
but I'm much more pleased with this proposed resolution, yes.
If you want me to, Mark, I can scan them and email them to everybody after the meeting.
Sure. Yeah. If that's what you guys would like, that's fine.
Go ahead.
well, I'd make a motion that we pay the $230,456.29.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion by Ashley to pay Midwest Paving $230,456.29, seconded by Jen. We'll take a roll call vote. Ashley,
Yes.
Stan? Yes. Jen,
Yes.
Carla,
Yes.
and I vote yes, so it passes 5-0.
Okay, the next item is the call for projects for 2022, which the first call, they have 2 calls, one in January, one in July, is January 3rd through the 28th. So you're all given copies of the street ratings, which should be our template for making these decisions. So I got a hold of NDOT and I said, well, what if we don't have our current contract buttoned up? Does that mean we can't do another one? She said, no, you have 18 months to complete the first one. But in the meantime, you can apply for funding again. So the thinking needs to be, do we want to submit projects for this January, or do we want to wait till July? Now, this current contract, just to give you a good example, this current contract that we're working our way through, it was from back in January. So here we are, 11 months later, which there's a lot of moving parts of why it took so long and all that, but I guess that in the past, I know that we have done the July call, and we ended up doing that work in the next calendar year, because it's hard to get all your ducks in a row and get contractors in to complete that fall. So,
I think we ought to do it
in January,
Get it done this fall, yeah, that makes,
so it would be ready to go next summer.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So, what needs to be done then is that a list of projects needs to be put together, okay? So, Stan, I'll ask you to kind of guide that, all right? So what do you want to be thinking about? Of course, first thing that should guide you will be the street ratings. Whenever you think about that, also think about on those streets that we do, that you decide on, or the board decides on, do we want to do any storm drain work, or do we want to do any sidewalk work? Because that's the only ones that will get 75-25, is if we're actually doing the street work also. You know, we can't just pick a sidewalk. We have to be doing the street work to get the sidewalk or storm drain work done on that street. So I would say that, so how much time do we need to give BF&S to put together the cost estimates and all that, you know? So I would say that, if at all, what is today? 10?
Yep.
I would say that no later than December 1st, we need to have our list put together and.
2 weeks, you want us to have a list in 2 weeks?
Yeah, 20 days. I'll call it 3 weeks. If not, I mean,
We have to give them.
we have to give them 30 days to do their
To do
job.
their engineering, or
Yeah.
cost us.
Yeah,
Right, but you've got until the end of January to apply, correct?
that's true. You got until the 28th of January. You wanna, when is the December meeting?
I mean, we're moving into holiday season and, you know, things move at a snail pace, everybody's off work and stuff like that. As a board, we're allowed to gather and review potential street projects. And we've done that in the past, and I think that should be done again, to kind of walk through things.
Get our list together.
So I guess if we said if we have it all ready to vote on by the 13th, the December board meeting, that would still give BF&S 30+ days to do their part. What do you think about that?
As long as we don't wait till the last minute.
You know, the only concern is, and I never thought about it, but, you know, that window from Christmas Eve to the day after New Year's, there's not much that gets done at these big agencies. You know, so, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna tell them that we will have that list put together ready for approval at the December 13th monthly board meeting. And ask them if that will leave sufficient time for them to get the application submitted. And if they come back and say, oh, we need a little bit more time than that, then I'll contact you all and we'll change our plan. But for now, we'll stick to our plan. That way we're including them in the input on this, okay? The last item I have, which I just got this the other day, for the leaf pickup. So the townwide leaf pickup's begun. Kelly Landscaping submitted a bill, and I went back and looked at the contract, and he does have it spaced out. And the total's $5,000, but there's 3 different payments. So he's requesting the first payment for services in the amount of $2,000.
And he does that every year.
Does he? I couldn't remember if we paid them all at the end or what.
So the total's 5, right?
The total's 5, and he's requesting payment for $2,000.
And how many times does he pick it up? 4 times?
He's picked up twice.
Yes, and he,
Oh,
and
okay.
he, and he picks up a 4 in total, but in all honesty, I see him here, drive through here about every other day picking up leaves.
Because the leaves are really starting to come down
Yes.
now.
Yeah. I know Monday, he was here in town all day picking up piles, so.
I've had several positive comments on his promptness in picking up the piles.
Good.
He does a good job.
And just driving in here this evening, I see a handful more piles, so. And I don't know what is the next official pickup date. I'm sure it's, I think it's next Monday, because he always does it on Monday so people can pile them up over the weekend.
Do we need a motion to pay that?
I don't think
It's
it's a contract.
Oh,
We do, we don't.
No.
November 22nd is the next big pickup.
So, well, he'll be picking them up before then. but- So it's every 2 weeks on Monday, is that what it is, Jim?
So it was 11/8, then 11/22, and then 12/6.
12/6 is the last one.
I thought,
So yeah, Monday.
So,
It's like,
question for you. I thought on even a contract, when you make a partial payment, just like we did on the other, on the streets and everything, you still gotta have a motion, I thought.
Well, you still have to approve it like in the claim stock, yeah, you still have to approve
Like
the
next
payment, but it's
month.
right down in the
Okay.
contract of it, yeah.
Okay.
I think you went ahead and just made a motion because you guys made a partial payment on that one, just to get safe or whatever.
Since you were withholding funds, not making the full payment, that's why a motion was appropriate at that
This
point.
is holding 3,000.
no, we're making
Well,
the full
no, but
payment.
this
of
is,
his.
yeah,
This is,
Oh, that
this
is
is actually
okay.
broken down.
yeah, in the
per
contract.
Okay.
so we're good?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll get these bills from First Midwest. She will send them to you, okay? But, so we already have the funds from the state, don't we? Okay. So we'll go ahead and issue this first check, but I think with that first check, I'm gonna add a note in there explaining the amount of the payment and the reasoning behind it. I think that's fair, you know.
Yeah.
So, before you send that check out, you let me know, so I can add
I'll do
a
it Friday.
cover
so.
letter for it. Closing thing, and Ron and Jen were here today for the pre-construction meeting for the relocation of the water lines on State Road 38. It looks like that project will begin next week. I think it'll be slow going a little bit. He said that it might possibly take him 30 days to get it completed. We will send out letters tomorrow to the affected homeowners, to kind of let them know that the train's coming, you know. And primarily what it says in this letter is that temporary disruption in service will occur. We'll try to keep it to a minimum.
And how many?
4 or 5 counting the Masonic Lodge. So, I mean, it's part of what's NDOT required, and we gotta do what we gotta do, you know.
And they did say it's 74,000 that they pay it all, so that's good.
Yes,
Yeah,
Yes.
dodged that.
Yeah.
yes,
money out.
NDOT, yes, I agree,
That's the one so everybody knows, started at 24,000,
yes,
and now it's going up to 74, and the state will pay it all, so.
yeah. Okay, any questions on anything?
Before Mark drops out, he needs a new computer. So when Alex went out and got him like this itty bitty little laptop thing that he had, and Mark, he was having problems with it a couple weeks ago. Mark Jones came in and told us Mark needs a new computer. The thing is, and with what Mark does and everything, all the files and meetings that he does on it. Now Mark can't even turn his laptop on. He can't even do any work. But he's got this itty bitty little baby thing, and then Mark Jones put in a screen so it can magnify on it. I've contacted Mark Jones, but he has not texted me back, so I figured if you guys, I don't know if you guys want Mark Jones to suggest something, or if you guys want to vote on it, but he's got to get a new computer. He can't even work right now.
Well, I'm the forever optimist, and I think when I come in the morning, I'm gonna turn it on, it's gonna work.
But still, even when Mark Jones was here a couple weeks ago when he was having issues, he's been having a lot of issues with it.
What it does, it has these automatic updates, you know?
Yeah.
And I saw on the bottom this morning, it said, had the icon, I clicked on it, says, do you want to update now or later? And I just clicked later, you know? I went out and done something, come back, and it's doing the whirlybird thing.
Yeah.
And then it keeps trying to restart, it won't restart, and then it gives a code, so I looked up the code, and it has something to do with window files. It was a Windows update is what it was. And I don't know much about it, but, so I unplugged it. I did the magic potion, I unplugged everything, and I'm confident that in the morning it's gonna work.
He's been doing it all day.
You know, here's the thing, I mean, there's a lot of information on there. So my concern is, if I can't get it working, which I'm gonna keep trying, if I can't get it working, we have to figure out a way to get all that information on a different computer. Because that's where it's at. I don't have hard copies of all this stuff. It's kind of a dangerous way to operate, if you ask me. Now, I do have, you know, in the last year, we got this thing called OneCloud or something like that. And it started, I don't even know if that's the right word for it.
OneDrive?
OneDrive. So it started automatically, any new files or any new things, it would send it to OneDrive instead of to a folder in my computer. So like maybe stuff that's 6 to 9 months old that's in that OneDrive, and everything from 18, 19, 20
Well, I know Mark
is
Jones
in a folder, you know.
has, like mine and Bridget's computer on a hard thing that
Right.
it gets, I don't know if yours is set up that way, but I'm assuming.
And of course, that's, yeah.
But ultimately, yeah.
So we need Mark Jones to
Yeah.
figure out a way to make sure we have all the things off your computer. And also, even if you're gonna hold on tight to this computer because it works tomorrow, we should have Mark Jones telling us this is what you're looking at.
I'd like to keep it.
I think
Just
he likes
because,
the little baby
you know,
thing
just
that-
because-
Let's look ahead,
because you
we'll
get-
just plan for the future.
Because, you know, you get familiar with them, you know,
Yeah.
but
About the time you figure out one operating system, they changed it, then you gotta
Yeah.
figure it out
But I
again.
figure if Mark Jones comes and says, no, we need to go get him a computer, you guys have either give him the go or say yes, or say Mark Jones can send you guys a price, but then you guys gotta vote on it. So I'm trying
Doesn't
to,
sound like we can give Mark the go. Mark, go ahead and get a computer. No.
but if you guys, you know,
we'll see what happens tomorrow.
so then we'll wait till the December meeting and he doesn't have.
Well, we're either I'm gonna get it working tomorrow, or we're gonna hear back from Mark Jones tomorrow, one of the two. That'll guide us in what we're gonna do.
I'm sure Mark's backed it up. There's no way that he's backed up their computers and not yours.
Yeah.
So
'Cause he
hopefully
set it
at
all
least,
up.
yeah, yeah. Hopefully at least.
You know, and Bridget made a good point, is that maybe that laptop wasn't made for the amount of data I put into it. You
Because he
know,
was doing meter reads on that.
you know, I don't know what the gigabyte things is or whatever,
Yeah.
but we'll see what tomorrow brings.
Hey, thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
Okay, you have any public comments? Any public out there? Okay, council comments? Ashton? Stan? Jan?
I do.
Oh,
So, also thinking ahead for Mark, I think that we need to start planning and looking for a part-time Mark to help him out. It's already in the salary ordinance for non-elected employees. We have laborer, up to $20 an hour, varies based on hours. So, but I do want us to start thinking of, like, how do we want to find this person, and how are we gonna put a job description together? Kind of want to get your thoughts on that.
We put that out, what was it, last year or in 19? So Mark does have a job description.
Oh.
I think the problem was finding somebody that, was it the certification thing, Mark?
See, I
Or was it
wasn't
the
thinking.
distance thing?
No, it was that we put it on Indeed,
Mhm.
and we've got probably 20 applicants, but they just weren't, you know, and the typical one was, I've had 3 jobs in the last 4 years.
So what
And
I'm,
then it really just adds to my load,
sure,
trying to keep
And it was
someone,
a distance
you know,
thing, I think.
and even in the job description, I believe that in there was about possibly getting your license and so forth. Found one guy from out at Subaru who I thought was a good fit. Scott did the background check on him. Didn't work out.
so what I was envisioning, at least right now, like, ideally, that'd be great to find somebody that wants to get their certification and stuff, but I was just thinking somebody that Mark could have to say, I need these locates done, I need you to plow this snow, I need you to mow this grass, I need you to do all the whatever that Mark does, not necessarily the certification and all that. Like, maybe just a older retired person that isn't.
With some part-time.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking I had in mind, at least for
I
the.
think that's what Mulberry does up there, you say
That's what
that
Mulberry does.
they use a couple part-timers that
I
are
think,
semi-retired.
I think you want a stronger plan B, and I think, you know, whoever needs to work towards, you know, some certifications.
And I'm not opposed to that, that would be great, but I think it's gonna be easier to find somebody that would just wanna, like, be under Mark and help Mark out. However, it's probably gonna be harder to find somebody that wants to work toward those certifications. So, I don't think that's a bad idea, I
It would
just start
really
with.
be- It would really be towards their advantage,
Yeah,
you know, financially and flexibility, you know, those certifications are few and far between, and
yeah.
people ought to jump at the chance that they can get certified.
Well, that'd be nice, we can ask for both, but Mark, you know, we just had 20 people and none of them turned out, so
Yeah.
at least need to give them some temporary quicker help while we're doing all this building and these projects.
I agree, you're absolutely right. I've said that for years.
All right, well, let's start looking, anything else, Jim?
No,
Carl?
So you want Mark to go ahead and start advertising?
well,
Is that what
I
you're
didn't
saying?
have this on the agenda, I forgot to put it on there, and then I forgot to put it on the one after it. So, I wasn't planning to make a decision, because I know we don't really like to make decisions about things that weren't on the agenda, but if we could. Like, I don't know,
So we need to see, what did you put out last time? Can you give us a copy of that?
I think I have the job description with me.
Okay, and we'll look at it over and we can all,
Mark knows what he needs more than
And
anyone.
it was, just what you can expect, but she'll send you a copy. I think it said $15, and might even said something about 20 if you got your license or something, you know. I don't know about that part.
Yes, you can send us the job description, and also, do you have what you used to advertise previously?
I gave Jen the login, so if you log into Indeed, it might be under there, under like the
Oh,
previous,
So if we can get a copy of that too,
Yeah.
just to see, that'd be helpful.
yeah, she has that one.
so it's okay with everybody to go ahead and let Mark check into this and try to.
I don't know how to check into this. I mean, you know,
We'll get with you, okay?
well, I guess what I'm saying is that, I mean, if you want them to put it on Indeed, that's fine, but I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, when we got a
You know.
resume, I just printed it off and gave it to him, and then he went from there.
You know, here's the thing, I mean, and we all know it, is that there's places that are paying $25,
yeah,
they can't get any help,
yeah.
you know, So I'm not hopeful. I think that the idea is in the best scenario, although we would prefer to invest in someone who was young, from Dayton, that would be long-term, because there's such value in having a long-term person.
Right, but I thought the focus right now was to get you some immediate assistance.
Right,
That's not
right.
necessarily focused on that.
Right, and that's where I'm going, but what you said about just finding a retired person or something that just wants to make some money on the side is probably our best hope at this time. And that's fine, you know, but, you know, the real, and we talked about the Alliance apprenticeship program.
Yeah.
And we said, well, what we'll do is we'll make them sign a contract. Well, Jen or Ron, maybe you both looked into it, and it was like, oh, you can't do that. What do you mean you can't do it? So we're gonna invest in your training and education and license, and then we're gonna say in exchange for this, we need you to guarantee you're gonna work for us for 5 years, and, right, you said we
Right.
can't do that.
Right, you can't, you can ask them, the only thing you can do is ask them to repay, some of their training things, like if you bought them a computer and,
The
like,
classes maybe.
yeah, maybe the cost of the tests or something,
Yeah,
but you can't tell them, well, you've gotta stay for this amount of time, or,
that's all, you know. Because I know people that have went into nursing programs at hospitals, and they said, hey, we'll let you get your LPN or RN, but you have to stay with us for 3 years or whatever, you know. So I wouldn't think that would be illegal or whatever, but it is what it is. But yeah, so, yeah, I'll take any help we get, but I think that, we'll keep operating like we do until we figure out different,
Well, we'll start working on it, so.
you know.
Okay. Carla, do you have anything?
so is it being put out? I just wanna be clear, like, are you getting with Mark and we are like putting this out for application?
First thing that's gonna happen is Michelle's gonna send you guys
Yeah.
the job description, okay?
Yeah,
And I think Carla wants to know where it was posted at, is that what you were asking, Carla?
No, where does, what was posted,
What was
how was it
posted?
advertised, what,
Okay.
how did it
What
read?
category or whatever? Okay, so you know what she wants, don't you?
mhm. Does the town have an application? Yeah,
It's a
Yeah.
real generic, Carol.
And these people just sent the resumes,
yeah,
which was
okay.
fine,
Any more questions, Jen?
No,
Okay, Carla?
one,
I got a couple of things. Michelle, thanks for giving me that information on those checks and everything. I asked you the other day on we got the farmer's contracts. We sent a new contract to Ron Berry, and he's probably gonna go with it at the $300 an acre. But he was saying that Kelly Carr is farming 2.5 acres. And I asked Michelle, and she can't find a contract, I don't know when it was lost before or whatever, so.
I can't find any.
Okay, I need a contact number for the Carr family, Kelly Carr or Guthrie Carr. And I'll contact them, because actually you gotta do it by the end of November. And,
I think I have the Guthrie's email, they contacted me before, so I'll see.
that would be good.
we have to have something, because when we sent those annexation letters, like, where would we have sent those? Right,
Yeah,
the
well, I think
voluntary
Kelly, Guthrie's doing all of Kelly's stuff now, his son, you know, so I need to contact him, and you should have a contact there. Anyway, Michelle says they are paying, they paid us this year $500, so that must be about, 2.5 acres. Ron Berry said they've fallen about 2.3 acres or so.
Yeah, because like when I pulled it, the Berry, he's paying twice a year, and the Car's only paying once a year,
Yeah.
which is in like, I wanna say when it was either like April or May.
Yeah, he always paid just once in the spring to get it over with.
Yeah,
So anyway, we'll get you Guthrie's number and I'll contact him and tell him to increase that a little. And then I was asking Michelle about the billboard contract, because that's $7,000 a year, I think. And did you say she can't find it either?
no,
So,
There's no files.
yeah, probably when you repainted everything and had everything piled in piles, it's probably, some of this was lost or it's upstairs or something. But anyway, did you say they paid this year, the $7,000?
Yeah, I sent you for the past 3 years, so I went back,
Okay.
it was either 18 or 19 I sent you, and I believe, when I say, I think it was 7,000 a year that they paid.
Okay, and when do they pay that? What month do you know?
Did I put it in the email?
I got some emails, I forgot what it is. Well, anyway, so
I wanna
they-
say June or July.
Okay. If we don't have a contract, do we contact the company, the billboard company, and ask them for a contract, or?
Like I said, I went through the stacks in the safe and my files, and I don't see any contracts from them. And I think I sent it, that it was J something promotions.
Okay, I'll look at it. I'll contact them and see if we can, because we ought to have a contract, you know.
I mean, I can either call them or you can, I don't
Well,
have,
go ahead and call them and find out.
okay,
At minimum, it's surely gonna be renewed at some point,
Yeah.
so.
I do not have a contact number, but I do have an email for Guthrie. And
Okay.
instead of saying it live, I'll just email it to you.
Yeah, email it to me, yeah, okay,
Or I'll just write down here and give it to you before I leave.
okay. And I think this weekend, we're gonna try to haul all those asphalt chippings that are on our property down to, is that a lift station on the other side of the interstate?
Meter station.
Meter station, and try to level that. Does anybody wanna help? Anybody got a dump truck, Ashley, that you'd like to help move it down there, or
I'm out of town, leaving on Friday to go to Missouri,
when will you be back?
be out there about a week.
Okay, well, it could wait till then. It'd be nice to have a couple dump trucks hauling down there and stuff, so I'll get a hold of you then.
I don't have a dump truck, but I'm very strong, so whatever you need.
Okay, all
Got a backpack?
Over shovel,
Okay.
shovel fit in your hand.
right. Yeah. You could level around the edges and stuff, along the fence. Okay, that's all I got, so that's, we'll adjourn the meeting and turn it over to Jen.
All right. This is the November 10th meeting of the Dayton Town Council. We've already taken roll call. Attorney, do you have anything for this meeting?
I do have one thing. I was contacted by the attorney for Randy, is that right?
Yeah.
Randy Martin. And I reached out to them and discussed with them the stay, which they had requested. And they said that they were in agreement with, everything that we had asked for, but they would need, the town marshal to input some data. And I don't really know, if he keeps up his training, he wants to continue his training, and if he does that, it has to be input into some system. I don't really understand it. What I had them do is I had them prepare a contract or an agreement between us that we would stay it indefinitely pending, resolution of the lawsuit. I have not had a chance to review the contract because I just got it today. So I told them that I would take a look at it and that the board could either make a motion that we approve this stay, depending on the terms of the contract, or we could just wait until the next meeting and just do a temporary stay until I've had a chance to review that contract. Which I don't think we have to take any action on it. I think we can just let it sit. I don't know that we need to actually do anything, but I would like to review that prior to anybody agreeing and make sure that I touch base with the town marshal to make sure whatever he's asking for is reasonable. I don't really know exactly what it is he wants, because like I said, I haven't reviewed the contract, but in the email, he said that he would keep up with his training, he would pay for it, but it had to be put in some database or system or something. I don't really know.
Scott? Does that sound right? Yeah?
I understand what she's asking.
Oh, good.
Is that?
I too would like to see everything on
Okay,
paper.
I can get that to you, yep. And Beth Copeland was copied on the email, so she does have a copy of the pending agreement and, knows what's going on. So I told him, without knowing what was going on, I couldn't say for sure, but I wanted to talk to you about it before we agreed to anything. So, that's all I really have.
Cool, okay. 2022 non-elected employees salary ordinance. So last meeting, we discussed some changes for the school traffic guard, the IDEX coordinator, and we took out the probationary period for our deputy marshals. So, do you happen to know the number for this?
Let me see the minutes that I sent you because I wanna say.
No, you're good.
Because in the minutes, I did put the ordinance number,
Oh,
like, when you guys,
like for the ones that we didn't know?
Yeah,
You
the
had to
ones
go ahead.
that took place on the second,
Okay.
so we can get it. Because you guys only passed the fair housing, oh no. So this will be 2021-22.
Thank you. So I move to waive formal reading of ordinance 2021-22, salary and compensation for non-elected employees for 2022.
I second it.
There's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan to waive formal reading of this. Is there any discussion? How do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla? Yes. And I vote yes, that passes 5-0. I move to adopt on first reading ordinance 2021-22, salary and compensation for non-elected employees for 2022.
Second.
There's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan to adopt this on first reading. Is there any discussion? How do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that's 5-0. All right, I move to adopt ordinance 2021-22, salary and compensation for non-elected employees for 2022.
Second.
There's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan to adopt this ordinance. Is there any discussion? How do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that's 5-0, so that's adopted. If everybody could sign this before they leave, we can give that to Michelle right after the meeting. All right, number 4, ARP discussion. So this is the American Rescue Plan money that we got, 188,000 of it right now, and we'll get the rest next year. And I just said, be thinking about it, and I had an idea that I wanted to toss out there for you guys to be considering. So this money can be used to give out grants to small businesses. So I just thought we could consider the idea of giving grants to small businesses in town. I know some may have already got taxpayer money, like Redbird I know already got $350,000. So I would think exclude places like that that already got money, or businesses owned by council members would be excluded. And obviously we wouldn't be giving out money to the tune of $350,000, but maybe something for our small businesses in town. We don't need to make a decision now, I just wanted to put that.
Is there a specification on what the money is, the purpose for the grant, for on the receiver, is it, are there specifications for the use?
Like
of
for
the
us
funds?
to give it out, or like that we could make?
No, that we could, not that we make, but the money, I know a lot of the art money has a lot of specifics, so are there specifics in the choices that we make, 1, and 2, are there specifics in the receiver on what they can use the money for? I mean, is it only COVID related, or is it,
I believe there are specifications
okay.
that have been put out there, and I can look into what those are specifically, but I believe there are
But I
specifications.
just don't wanna hand out money and then all of a sudden, well, we have no use for that in those,
Right.
firms, so we have to take it back.
I
just
do
don't
know,
want that.
I do know that with regard to the grants, there are specific rules you have to follow, and you have to do it in a very certain way, or
Yes.
else you might be liable to repay the money back to the state.
Right.
So,
And there would have to be like a whole application process.
there
and-
would, and yeah, there'd have to be a whole process. There also, I don't know if you guys have done your plan yet for the money, but we'll have to specify what all of those details are in that plan.
Does anybody else?
Can we use it for like the front, fixing up the front and the square up here and the lights and everything?
It's really supposed to be COVID related, so. I don't- Like, there are some things, so, you know, if you fixed it up out here and there was a nice, like, gathering place, like, let's say the gazebo wasn't there, we wanted to put a gazebo there. Like, I think that you could, what's the word, you know, like, justify that, because it's like outdoor socialization and,
So you could build a town park? I mean,
yeah.
that would be
Yeah.
qualifying.
Yeah. I would think so. I mean, I've only read as much as you guys, probably, or maybe more. I've read a lot of them. But I think there are ways to use it for things that aren't just like COVID signs, COVID vaccines, whatever.
Can you use it, it seems to me like everybody's affected by COVID as the individual residents. Can you use it to reduce their utility bills because they are the ones that are affected by COVID directly?
Or like people that have really high bills because they lost work.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that'd be a direct
Mhm.
thing versus giving just to the business people or whatever, I think that.
I'm not sure if you can give it to individual people.
Really?
Yeah, we'd have to look.
I was gonna say, I thought that you could make direct payments to people.
You maybe could for a specific purpose,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yes.
For like each.
potentially for utilities. But again, before you do anything, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you just wanna check all the rules.
Oh, yeah.
What I don't like is like in
That's what you're
Lafayette
supposed
and
to
stuff, they hand out a huge amount of money to a few businesses. Like I think the chocolate factory got $1 million, Subway got $2 million. Or what is it on the
Harry's
side?
chocolate?
Harry's Chocolate, yeah.
The chocolate.
And yet then there's some little businesses that get 3 or 4 or 5,000, and it seems so out of whack, you know, that you're helping. And then some of these businesses that get a lot of money, they close down, they don't even open up as much. They actually reduce their hours, reduce their time, I've been noticing, and that seems like something's fishy there, but I like the idea of helping businesses out, but I like the idea of helping all our residents out too.
I think a lot of your reduced hours and days of the week is staffing issues.
Yeah, but if you get 300,000 or you get $1 million, you shouldn't have too much staffing issues because you got the money it's supposed to be to help pay these people. Unless you are cheap and don't pay them much or anything.
Well, you still have the issue of
People are still trying to live off of unemployment, that's the problem.
right,
You
people,
got
you gotta have people who actually wanna get out there and work.
Yeah.
And that is part of the issue, but.
Well, think about the person that doesn't get
Well, I
any.
mean, places are offering $28 an hour and you're still not getting people to work.
Well, then offer
It's not
30.
old, it's just the truth.
You know, if you got $1 million, you can offer more, I guess, so. I just noticed that some people getting money reduce their business and stuff, it just seems, I don't know. But anyway, we can help all the town residents, that'd be nice, help the businesses, that'd be nice.
Alicia, I know it's sort of a plan in motion, but have they, these guidelines that are out there somewhere, are they mostly stabilized now, or are they
To my
still
knowledge,
in
they're
flux?
not. I think they're still in flux. They're better than they were back in, you know, when we found out about this back in the summer, but,
So looking at it today, 3 months from now, it could be entirely different, or
I think
why?
my recollection on when we have to have our plan, and I think we have to have it in sometime next year. I can double check that because I'm pulling from my memory, but I think we have to have it in sometime next year. I anticipate in the months leading up to when the plans are starting to be due, that's when we're gonna start seeing some finalized guidance. The problem is with COVID, and this has been the problem from the very get-go, is every single day the rules change. So what you could do yesterday, you may not be able to do tomorrow, so, but I can double check, if there's any new guidance out and check with AIM and see.
Do you think you think they'd be more likely just to be adding things to do as opposed to
That's
taking
what we've
away?
been seeing, yeah, is they've been clarifying what can be done and,
But not necessarily taking away what's out there,
Yeah,
just
what-
clarifying. Okay.
yeah, what I have seen in a couple of the webinars that I've watched, it started out as this very broad, well, you can use it for this purpose, and then it was like, okay, some examples of what this purpose is this, and then if you have it, maybe this, if you can justify some way how it's related to COVID. So this wouldn't be completely out. If it's under these circumstances, it is, but if it's related to COVID, then you could potentially do it. So they're
Okay, so
providing a
for-
little bit more
For
flexibility.
those of us that haven't read through all of it, I've just sort of read summaries of it.
Yeah,
So looking further into it to get a better understanding is not gonna necessarily negate anything probably down the road, in understanding it. They're just probably gonna clarify for
Right.
us as we get closer.
so I've watched quite a few webinars and I've read a lot about it, and basically what I have been telling all the municipalities I work for is come up with a specific thing you'd wanna look into, and then we'll look for that specific thing, because there's so much information out there to have it all memorized, it's just impossible. So, once you kind of.
I'm just
yeah.
thinking if I read through it,
Oh,
it might
sure,
give me some
yeah, it may
ideas and
change,
then go.
yeah, it may change next week, but the bottom line is this, if you guys have an idea, we can come up with a plan, see if it will work based on the guidance that's out there, and then there are resources that you can reach out to say, hey, here's something I'm thinking about doing, can we do this, and see what they say, and that's kind of how people have been coming up with these new, rules, is because someone will say, well, can I use it for X, Y, Z, and then they'll consider it and say, oh yeah, you can if, so,
Right.
yeah.
Anything else on that? Anything?
So when do we want to make this list?
I mean, there's not a mad rush.
Yeah.
We are hopefully gonna get a comprehensive plan done. So,
Well, we have to get a comprehensive plan done at some point, but I don't think we have to just yet, so we've got a
no,
little
I
bit
mean
of
the
time.
comprehensive plan that we're applying
Oh.
to, Okra,
Oh,
to
that
get the
also,
money for it.
that
So,
also, but we
yeah.
have to do a comprehensive plan for the ARP
Yes,
also, so I mean,
yes.
at some point, we'll have to
Right.
do that too.
And I thought it was like December of 2024. At first they said you have to have it all spent by then. But then they said, well, you don't have to spend it, but you have to have it planned and like allocated
Yes,
for that.
I think that you're right, it was originally 24, you had to have it all spended, they have extended that deadline, there is a deadline, as far as I know, and I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but I was thinking in 2022, we had to have our plan of how we're going to
Yeah.
spend it. And that's not like the end of the world, we can't ever change it plan, but it's just a general plan, and then from there, we can start spending it, and we have time to figure out exactly the details of everything kind of after that, was my understanding. But again, that could have changed since I last looked into it.
And I do think they're definitely only getting more lax with it. Extending the deadlines, not moving them up, and giving more uses for it, not less.
Well, I think the reason is because how are they gonna administer it? I mean, frankly, they don't have the resources to sit there and monitor every single town and
Yeah.
municipality, and
Yeah.
how they use the money, like with a, fine tooth comb, it's just,
And it was like, at first, everybody had to report every dollar that was spent for everything, and then it was like, but maybe not. Maybe if you have a community that's like this parameters, well then it's just assumed that you're using it for this and you don't have to fill out this special report and,
right.
So-
And like if you're using it for municipality, like if you're using it for municipal utilities, and you're using it for infrastructure, those rules are super lax. They're
Mhm.
pretty much like any infrastructure within these categories you can just do and you don't have to report anything.
yeah.
So, it just depends,
So it's getting better.
yes. And I anticipate it will continue to.
Yeah.
How did they determine how much the town got? Is it based on population or something? I'm just curious.
It was more than population.
I don't know, truthfully,
I think the federal funds came to the state, and the state then had a
formula.
formula that they utilized for cities, towns.
Did all towns get money?
Yes.
Only
Well,
if you filled out your paperwork on
yeah,
time,
you have to fill
or
out
if
the
you
paperwork
wanted it. Some
by
people
the end
didn't
of
want it.
August.
Is that-
Some towns or whatever didn't want it.
They felt like it was too much of a hassle.
Because at first they were like those strict, like broadband, infrastructure, can't use it for anything else. do all this reporting, and they were like, well, that money's not worth it.
They had the deadline August 31st, I'm pretty sure, and then they came back and they said, well, if you didn't get it in by August 31st, maybe we'll give you a second chance.
Yeah.
And before that, it was like, have it in or you're toast, so.
I know they didn't adjust population though, because it was like you had all these numbers, but they weren't final numbers, it was just what you probably were gonna get. And ours didn't end up changing, but some places did change, they got less or whatever, so it was more than population, but I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I know, because the state was also looking at, are we gonna consider the townships within, so that was one of the reasons that it got held up, was the state was making that decision, which they ultimately did not do, so.
Oh, so the state's got the money and then the states did
Yeah,
it
that,
within.
on this round of our money was, the state determined the amount, so. And I suppose policing it down the road too.
Yeah, so we report to the state then has to report to the federal government, so that's why they have to have their rules, but.
And you might look like, if you're like, I don't know what we should use this money for, you could look internet search, like what are other towns doing in their plans? And
Some of those
That's
towns,
smart
some of those
management.
towns on listserv are coming up with, which I disagree with, like they're wanting bonuses for themselves and their employees and stuff, which they were always had a job and always still got a paycheck, and they should be handing it to other people instead of themselves, but I see a lot of that on there,
Okay, anything else before we move on to the next agenda item? All right, annexation of Dayton property. So I added this so that we could give Alicia the okay to look into annexing our, am I pointing in the right direction? Yep. Our strip of land that goes from town limits up to 200. That would be a good idea to annex our own land in our town.
Well, we ought to have it annexed, so we can use it how we want to.
Does anyone have a problem with Alicia looking into that?
You said
Good.
from the what?
So from our town limits, because like part of that strip is already in town limits, so from there up to 200.
What's the purpose of spending the money to annex it into the town of Dayton?
How much will it cost?
I don't know, I'm sure it costs something.
I just think with what's going on up there, it's a good idea to get our land in our town.
What was the purpose of annexing the land around it before that the old board tried to do that they refused to let us annex it? What was that purpose?
I'm not following what example you're trying to lay out here.
Well, the strip of land she's talking about on when we tried to annex that property up there, the cars and stuff, didn't we?
Oh,
So why would, it's right next to us, so we were trying to annex that.
We were starting the conversation of annexation. I don't think I answered your question.
I think if it's Dayton land, it should be in the Dayton town limits.
Yeah. Actually, if we own land down here outside, we need to annex it, or, you annex, your land should be annexed for your town. So you can control it a little more, that's the idea. We want to control that land, because we want to do certain things with that land, I think, that's good for Dayton, and with all the animosity of the county commissioners and other people refusing to do what our wishes are for this town and fighting us every day tooth and nail, we want to control more of our own property, I think is the main reason, and that's a good, I think. Otherwise, we don't do anything, and they walk in here, and they're going to sooner or later try to take that land from us.
So did the town purchase that strip down through there?
Years ago, 30, 40 years ago.
So, but whenever you purchase it, don't you have a deed or whatever so that it is yours?
Yes.
Yeah, but
Yes.
part of it's out in the county, and the county's trying to do stuff with it.
I just thought that then it would be automatically annexed into the town if you own it. It's not,
No, it's
I'm
not.
just
part of
asking.
it is and part of it's not.
Oh.
And so, it just, you know, it's one of the steps of doing something with that land, being able to do it, and that's one of some of the steps.
Oh, I understand what you're saying, I just thought that,
You have more control over it, the other people that want your land have less control over it. So,
But this, you know, this was not on the agenda 48 hours in advance. I think for transparency, you know, we ought to have it on the agenda.
Are we voting
We're
on
not
anything?
making a decision, this is just, hey, let's have her get some information about it.
Yeah, I think.
So you're opposed to it, or you're just opposed to getting information about it?
Well, you know, I get what you're all trying to do, okay? And obviously I disagree with it. I don't understand why this board has this animosity towards Tippecanoe County or Lafayette over,
I don't have any animosity with the county per se,
okay,
so, but you made a statement that you obviously disagree. It apparently is obvious to you. I don't understand why you're disagreeing with it. So can you explain why you don't think it's a good idea?
I think we should work with the county and with Lafayette instead of working, butting heads with them, okay? And
So annexing property that we already own is butting heads with the county?
I get, you know, I understand why you're wanting to annex it, okay? I get that, okay? And it's just,
Why?
you know, well, because I believe that you think that that will be another roadblock for them if they actually do Yost Tackle Road off of Haggerty.
That's being done, so that's not, annexing that property that we own is not gonna stop that. That's already a done deal.
You know, I think, you know, that pathway was set forth decades ago for that particular purpose. You know, I think we should work with the county and with Lafayette on that project. I've always thought that, but, you know.
Yost Road, are you talking about Yost Road or our property?
I'm talking about Yost Road or something along those lines.
Well, Yost Road is being done, or a road is being done. I don't know if they'll still call it Yost Road or not. That's being done, so, we're not telling them no, we're not telling them, we're not arguing with them. I'm having a hard time understanding what you're telling me, what that has to do with the idea of annexing the property that this town owns into the town limits. I'm having a hard time understanding why that's a bad idea.
I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad idea, I think it's unnecessary. You know, we have ownership of the, you know, I believe that there's members of this board that think that that will be another legal obstacle should the county
Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but
choose to do eminent domain.
so, okay, so you think the way to work with the county is to not annex property that we own, so we can count on the goodness of their heart to not take that property away from us.
Do you think annexing it into the town of Dayton prevents them from buying that land off of us through eminent domain?
Well, if they choose to do eminent domain, that's a whole different issue. And if you believe that they're going to do that, then I think that's an even better idea that we need to annex that property.
I would hope that we would be extending our hands to them in agreement.
And I would hope that they would also extend their hand, but they have so far not done that.
they've never done it.
I can only speak for my time serving on APC and my time serving here. And my time serving here, I have not seen the county once come out and talk to us. I'm not, one time I had a commissioner call me but it was before a vote that was gonna take place that night, and it was at 3 o'clock that afternoon, and he left a message, and so I didn't get it. But why would he wait until that time to call me?
You know, that,
So, no, let me finish. So, my experience being in this town and then serving on this board and serving on the APC, my experience with the county commissioners, my experience with the county in general, in their willingness to work with us, has not been a positive experience. So, for us to not consider, I'm not saying we should, I'm not saying we shouldn't. I'm saying for us to not consider annexing property that this town owns into our town limits, that's not intelligent thought process. We can gather the information, take it under advisement, then we make a decision. But to say, no, we shouldn't do it just because it appears as though we're not gonna walk hand in hand down the yellow brick road with the commissioners from the county, that seems illogical to me.
you know, things were set in motion before your tenure on the board, okay? And you know, a lot of hard feelings, I believe, with the county and town of Dayton. You know, I think we should take steps towards repairing that rather than.
But who started those hard feelings? Where did those hard feelings start?
I think, you know, from the board making decisions without doing any research, talking to any,
What board did that?
this board did.
This board
Yes.
made decisions without doing any research.
You weren't on it at the time, but yes.
This board started and I joined it 6 months in.
Right.
So you're saying from January to June, when I was appointed, they made all kinds of decisions that they did not do any research for?
They made decisions that affected that TIF area out there and, you know, the potential that Dayton had to annex that area in to the town of Dayton. You know, they canceled the Yost Road project, the grant money that we had for that. And that sent some very negative signals to, you know, Lafayette and the county.
Well, I don't see why they would take it negatively when this town board decided to make a decision that they felt was best for this town when a rezone took place and went against what I said, what I told them as an APC member. I was sitting on the board at that
Yeah,
point.
yes, you were, I remember.
And I told them, and his name has escaped me, the attorney,
Reed?
not our attorney,
Teeter?
yes, Mr. Teeter. Actually, at that APC meeting, lied to the APC board, lied to them, which I did call him out on. He lied again. So that's where the hard feelings started. And the rezone wasn't, they wanted to rezone it to something that was not good for the town. Nobody wants warehouses, but that's what's gonna happen now because the rezone went through. So I don't see how the animosity that you're talking about can be laid at the board's feet.
I'm telling you it is.
Well, if Lafayette and the county want to lay that animosity at their feet, that's certainly their choice. That doesn't make it correct.
You know, that rezone was, you know, one parcel, you know, 96 acres in amongst nearly 300 acres.
Oh.
Okay? I mean, it's just one part of it, but, you know, I wasn't real happy with that particular rezone either, okay? You know,
You seem to have supported it.
you know, support the commercial aspect of it, as far as the R3 aspect of it, maybe not so much, but it's happened, as, so to speak, water under the bridge. There's other land out there that will be rezoned sometime in the future. I'd certainly like for Dayton to have some input on that. I think we are,
So you're saying that they
Driving-
would hold this against us and they would not give us any input because of
I
that?
think it's just one more reason for, I think it's just, you want one more notch, that.
Well, that's, again, that's at Lafayette and the county's doorstep, not mine and not this board's. And if they wanna act childishly about it, that again is on them. This board,
Well, I don't know that they're acting childish. I think they see.
based on what you're telling me, that sounds like childish behavior. I don't like what you did, so I'm not gonna let you, I'm gonna take my marbles and go home. That sounds like childish behavior to me.
Well, I don't look at it that way. I think it's one of those things where, Dayton is sending out signals, okay, that we're gonna do everything we can to fight or resist. I don't know that there's been any meetings with anybody on this board with, county folks concerning that area out there. I think there needs to be dialogue. I think
I can tell you that there has been a meeting with one of the commissioners, because I sat in on that meeting. And we got absolutely nowhere.
Okay.
And I think what Carla said is fantastic, and I think she's saying it calmly, where it's hard for me to stay calm. But Ashley, you're throwing all the history out the window of what all the other councils and what, except for this very last one, in our comprehensive plan of 35 years, the town said at some time in the future, we would do a Yost Drive if we controlled the area and got what was good for the town, and through that comprehensive land development, whatever plan you call it. It had mixed residential, mixed business, neighborhood, commercial, GB, everything. It had no I3 in it whatsoever. So 35 years of planning, this last board came along, and this last board is no longer sitting here because exactly what they did, they came along and threw that plan out the window, made it available for the rezone to go through in all warehouses. They even hired the commissioner's nephew that was for that. I argued with him as president of the board. I argued with him that he even said we were ridiculous one time for not going through with Yost Drive. I talked to Tom Murtaugh last year as all this was going on, and we invited him out here to come out and talk to you, all the board members, the townspeople, the residents, look at the families, look at the businesses. Not one time did they ever step out here and come out here one time, talk to anybody. Then the meetings on redevelopment, on half this stuff, our town did not get any notification on the meetings that came up. And like Carla said, notified in the last 2 hours or not even notified. But Ashley, our board, when we took over, you included, signed a letter to them that we wanted to rezone, we were fighting the rezone, we wanted to annex it first, and they threw all that out the window. So I think it's very unfair to say this is water under the bridge. I think and by the way, when we canceled that avenue of trucks up there, we canceled it with the blessing of, I talked to Sally Fay, and she said it's fine to cancel it, they'll use the money elsewhere. Okay, so we didn't just go into it blindly. Now, if you and Tom Murtaugh and somebody else takes it and turns it and has animosity against Dayton, that's your problem and Tom's problem, but he at least has said they picked another area for the road coming down. So you ought to be glad they're getting their road how they want it. They're coming down there over 2/3 of the land, okay? But the old board on part, there's 115 acres, there's 98 acres, and there's a truck land. I don't think there's a full 300 acres.
A little bit shy of 300, but yeah.
Huh?
It was like 286 or something like that.
Yeah,
A little
okay.
bit shy of 300.
But what you guys have set up is almost, I call up the other owner to talk to him, And he says, well, I think it ought to be warehousing, and I say, why? And he says, Ashley's talked to me and said that your recommendation to him, Ron Berry, was you ought to do a rezone before you let the town annex it, because then you can, that's what he told me, okay?
Well,
That's what he told me. But the idea is here, you changed it, and the old board changed it from what everybody wanted in this town. They don't want, how many people do you think in this town want warehouses? I don't think,
Ron,
One or two.
I think we're getting a little off topic. The topic is about the annexation of land that we own. And so, you know, I don't, again, we're not voting on anything, correct? So the fact that it just got added, I wasn't happy about it just being added because I didn't know what was going on either. I didn't understand it either. But to gather information, to get a better understanding of should we or shouldn't we annex land that we own, I don't think hurts anybody, and I don't think that the county or Lafayette is gonna say, bad Dayton, you shouldn't do any research. And if they do, again, that's on Lafayette and the county. We live in Dayton. I moved to Dayton for a reason. I got out of Lafayette and moved to a small town for a reason. I would like for that reason to continue to exist.
I think most of us moved out here for that reason. And I think that reason is being obliterated up there at the entrance of our town. But if we need a motion, I'd like to make a motion to let,
I don't know that we need a motion.
okay, well, we need something to let Alicia go ahead and research this.
I don't think we need a motion, I just need consensus. So if y'all just wanna
Carl,
tell
what do you
me.
think? Look
Yeah,
into it?
I always like information.
Yes, look into it.
Stan,
Yes,
Ashley,
No.
4 of us would like you to look into it. Did you want to say anything else, Ashley?
Yes, you know, Ron, I realize that you love to talk about warehouses, and there's just gonna be fields and fields and acres of warehouses out there.
Well, there is.
You know, no, there's corn grown out there.
There's 98 acres dedicated for 100% warehouses.
Warehouses and quite a few other uses.
No other uses. Talk to Tom Murtaugh, he said 100% of that 98 acres is warehouses, Ashley. It's warehouses. He said that's what it needs to be. It needs to be for SIA. We mentioned use the land on the west side of the interstate where they got 4,000 or 5,000. He said, no, this is perfect land for warehouses, not for a restaurant, not for a ball field, for warehouses, 100% of warehouses.
Okay, well, that is, and remember, I signed a letter, you know, against that rezone, okay, so remember that.
Yeah, we know why you did.
But, you know, you're talking about land along the side of the interstate, and, you know, I don't think there'll be houses ever built alongside the interstate in that area. But most people don't want to live next to an interstate. So, you know, it will be commercial of some kind. I agree with you there. You know, I think you purposely try to scare people talking about all these warehouses, and I don't think that.
Ashley, would you do me a
Hold
favor?
on, just a
That, you know,
Call Tom Murtaugh up and see what he's planning for that area. Now, you're saying they won't put houses next to the interstate. The 35-year plan wasn't putting houses. You take everything and twist it. It was putting the houses out in the middle of the field. Ashley, don't laugh like that. Did you ever look at that 35-year plan?
Yes,
Okay, tell me how much is residential and how much is green space, how much is I-1 and how much is neighborhood business and how much is GB? And tell me where the houses are, how close to the interstate, because I didn't see any housing units next to the interstate.
that's,
So it was light industry and it was businesses and stuff like that. And so you're saying, area plan, the old planners of this town and the old board, including Mr. Yost, you're saying they're all wrong and wanting that up there, that their say-so has nothing to do with it, that it should be warehouses like Tom Murtaugh wants. Is that what you're saying?
I am saying that the comprehensive plan was in the process of being updated, okay? Lord only knows that this country's changed a lot in 35 or 40 years. There's a lot of empty buildings sitting around the United States, brick and mortar buildings. You know, you have to adapt to times. You know, the comprehensive plan does need to be updated to reflect those changes. You know, to think that all that area would be, you know, residential or small businesses, you know, I don't, you know, I think a lot of it will be residential, you know, absolutely. But I do think there will be commercial area, business area out towards the interstate. You know, the comprehensive plan, the old one, you know, did show businesses out along the interstate. You know, I think the businesses in today's environment have a different look than they did 35 years ago, and that's reflected somewhat in zoning. And again, remember, I was not in favor of that being rezoned to R3. You know,
So then why don't you stand behind us and help us do something besides I-3? By the way, you said there's 286 acres, right?
in that
Roughly.
In that neighborhood.
98 of them is the new car land that's all warehouses. The other, how many was where the truck, Indiana truck is now, and that area south, that's in our land?
That is,
30-some?
no, that's not included in that 285 acres. I'm talking about the land that is north of Dayton town limits, in between the interstate, Dayton Road and Haverty.
I thought there was 98 on the left of the proposed avenue of trucks going up, and I thought there was 115 on the right side over toward Dayton
What are you
Road.
talking about, avenue of trucks?
Well, that's what they are proposing, a road that's going to be nothing but semis in there, but whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to call it. But
You
anyway,
guys are
actually, to
way
the
off
right
on
of that, then there's that other farm, Bowers Farm is a ½ acre, and then that one with the silos is 5 acres.
All right.
There should only be, you've already committed to 50-60%, or 60% of the land now is all warehouses and a truck place. Would they say the bays are gonna be open, 23 hours a day?
That's definitely, okay. We went
This is not
way
what I'm
off.
saying.
This was just to give Alicia the okay to look into annexing this property, and that took a lot longer than I thought it would. All right, we'll move on. Allowance docket. It says September 21, 2021, but I just accidentally put that. We need to approve the October allowance docket. So I move to approve the October 2021 allowance docket.
Second.
It's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan to approve the allowance docket for October 2021. Is there any discussion? How do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that passes 5-0.
Jen, before you move on to the invoices, I just have something that has to do with payroll, and you're doing the allowance docket. So, as we have done every year, but I just want to let you guys know to make sure everybody's still good with it. So the next payroll or pay date is November 26th, which lands on the day after Thanksgiving. So payroll will be actually November 24th, the day before Thanksgiving, which is the last working day before the holiday, so
What, you're gonna pay us early?
you're allowed to.
That's horrible.
I know,
I don't
right?
know why I would agree to that.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure that everybody was still good with that. And just to give everybody an update so you don't freak out when you see your check in there on the 24th.
Cool,
Okay, that was all.
thanks. All right, moving on to the claims. I move to approve Alpha Business Technologies invoice number 214424 dated 10/22 of 21 in the amount of $500.
Second.
It's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan to approve this Alpha Business Technologies invoice. Is there any discussion before we vote? Ashley? To approve Alpha Business Technologies invoice 214424
Yes.
for $500. Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that's approved 5-0. Does anyone have any questions about the BFNS invoices before we vote on those? There were 3 of them.
I have a question on, what was that thing, Mark, that we were talking about? That we both were confused about? Where are they at?
I don't know.
Okay, so it's not the Truck Indiana, it's not the CCMG, it's the other.
State road for J.
It had some kind of like abbreviation or something. And then,
CCMG, an engineer,
because we were both
plan, bid documents.
maybe, was it that?
Oh, Swift,
Yes, that one.
the Swift one, the $2,000 bill, put the Swift out.
State water infrastructure fund application,
We
so
didn't-
that,
We didn't know what to pay
Pay
that
out.
out of, yeah.
Because of,
So if you look, the projects that were in that grant application, the stormwater projects, so I said, well, pay out stormwater, I said, well, let me check this.
so we just wanted
that
to
makes
confirm.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay, we just wanted to make sure everybody was good with that. Okay, thank you. That was our only question on it.
The other things on there were a lot, but it was a lot of the CCMG stuff.
And we just, usually we pay the BFNS, but we just turn these one in because they were so large.
Yeah.
And then that one that we hadn't had before.
So did you get a letter that's saying that you did not get the SWIFT grant? The only reason I know we didn't get it is because I saw a list of the towns that did get it, and we weren't on the list.
Same.
So I didn't know if we got something that said,
I never
thank you
received
for
this
applying,
next
but you
day.
do not get this money. Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw the very
Yeah.
short list of
It
very big projects.
Yes, it was a short list of multi-million-dollar projects.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I'm like, what, you couldn't show whatever we asked for, $40,000 or what?
I know. It was like 5 million, 5 million,
But
5
that's,
million.
you know, whenever I talked to the guy about it, he said, well, you know, we thought that these big projects that would get press are more likely to be funded. So whenever you give some town $3 million to do this super duper sewer project, and it's on the news, and it's in the newspaper or whatever,
You didn't tell them how many Facebook pages this town has?
I don't know how many we got.
Two.
But anyway,
Bummer.
that's.
All right. So I would move to approve the following BFNS invoices. Invoice 94311 dated 10/22 of '21 for $2,000. Invoice 94329 dated 10/25 of '21 for $4,620.75. And invoice 94328 dated 10/25/21. This one is for $12,287.75.
Second.
It's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan to approve those 3 BFNS invoices. Is there any discussion? Okay, this is to approve BFNS for $18,908.50. How do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that passes 5-0. I move to approve Renico invoice 105425 dated 10/11 of '21 for $175.
Second.
It's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan to approve this Brenico invoice. Is there any discussion? Okay, Ashley, how do you vote?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes. I move to approve paying Bridget Cadwallader for her mileage. It was dated 11/1 of 2021, and it would be $70.56.
Second.
It's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan to pay Bridget for her mileage. Is there any discussion? How do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla? And I vote yes, that passes 5-0. I move to approve the following Haley's Lock Safe and Key invoices. Invoice 116171 dated 10/7 of '21 for $897.18. And invoice 116420 dated 10/25 of '21 for $32.
Second.
It's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan to approve these invoices. Is there any discussion? I just wanted to mention that the really high one from Haley's, you all have it and it lists it, but it just explains that we're just paying annually because then you save money. So we're paying these things annually, and we have that new control panel installed. All right, this is to approve Haley's for $929.18. How do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that passes 5-0. These next ones are mine. The first 3 receipts are for postage. There's receipt number 69 dated 11/2/21, and that was for $77.94. That was for the disconnect letters that we sent out. Receipt number 70 was dated for the next day, 11/3/2021, and that was for $4.33. That was just one extra disconnect letter that didn't go out the day before. And then receipt number 76 is dated 11/5/21, and that's for $4.33. And I sent a letter to Tippecanoe County Clerk, Tippecanoe County Board of Elections, actually.
I propose we pay Jan's postage. Make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion made by Stan and seconded by Ron to pay the postage that I paid for $86.60. Before you vote, I just wanted to mention that this letter to the Tippecanoe County Board of Elections, so Michelle sent in our latest voting ordinance, and she got an email back that said, yep, we got it, but it was nothing stamped, nothing official. So then I tried to get that from them, and they said, yeah, we got it, it's fine, I'll send it to you. So they sent me it, again, it wasn't stamped. And so I inquired, like, has this also been filed with the clerk? Because some of you may remember a few years back when there was the big thing, it was filed with the Board of Elections, but it wasn't filed with the clerk, and then at the last minute, you had to switch boards because it was a fiasco. So I want to make sure that didn't happen again. And they said, yeah, it should be fine. But I couldn't get anything from them. So I sent a letter, a certified letter to them asking for a, receipted copy of this, like with a stamp on it. So Julie Roush sent me a copy of it with the Board of Elections stamp on it, but still not with her stamp on it. So, still trying to get both stamps so we can be assured that it's been filed correctly, and that's how we'll be voting.
And she called me today, and she said that everybody's talked to you and everybody else has called, and she said that, like, she doesn't know what more you want from her, but,
Yeah.
I mean, it's in there, everybody has it, everybody's confirmed.
I know, I'm just afraid if we don't have, because before, 20, whatever year that was, it was all in there, everybody knew it was in there, they had it, but because, was it the clerk didn't have the, what was the word? Signed copy or receipted copy or something copy, stamped copy, something, they couldn't do it, couldn't vote that way. Even though everybody had voted that way before, all of a sudden it was missing, so they couldn't, so I just want to make sure everything is taken care of, and it's more than just a telephone call. Yeah, it should be fine, yeah, they'll get it from us.
Yeah, she said it's in their ordinance book, just like how every time that they've gotten something, it's in there.
Hopefully she'll send it with the stamp. That's how the last one was. From 2018, it had a stamp from both the Board of Elections and the clerk, so that's what I'm going for. Anyway, so it's for $86.60. How do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I am not going to vote, but that passes 4-0. The next one is also mine, invoice 315969695, dated 10/1/2021, and that's for $19 for GoToMeeting.
How much?
$19.
Make a motion to pay Jen to go to meeting for $19.
Second.
It's been a motion made by Stan and seconded by Ron. Is there any discussion? How do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I won't vote. That passes 4-0. I move to approve Nate's handyman service date, invoice 276, dated 10/18/21 for $275.
Second.
It's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan. Is there any discussion before we vote? Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that passes 5-0. I move to approve Taft invoice 3825546 dated 10/18/21 for $86.
Second.
It's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan to approve this Taft invoice. Is there any discussion? How do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that's approved. 5-0. These next two are for Tractor Supply. They're both dated 10/20/2021. receipt number 348,251 for $1.28 and 348,267 for $1.87. They're paid with cash, so I don't know who we're reimbursing.
I went down there and I paid for them, they're the bolts for putting up the speed bump signs, speed hump signs prior to them putting the speed hump in there, so they had to go up. Scott and Mark asked to get them up, so they're the bolts that hold them up.
I move to approve repaying around $3.15 for the bolts he bought at Tractor Supply.
Second.
It's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan to repay. Ron, is there any discussion?
And just for the record, he's already been paid out of petty cash for that.
Oh, perfect. We'll take what his name. Ashley,
Yes.
Stan,
Yes.
Carla,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So you can keep your petty cash. All right, I move to approve USA Blue Book invoice 753722 dated 10/8/21 for $66.02.
Second.
It's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan to approve this USA Blue Book invoice. Is there any discussion before we vote? Okay, how do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that passes 5-0. Moving on to the reports. I move to approve the following reports from October 2021. Appropriation report, bank reconciliation, fund report, and revenue report.
Second.
It's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan to approve these October 2021 reports. Is there any discussion? How do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, those are approved 5-0. So we do have the minutes from September 1st, 2021 budget work session, September 30th, 2021 special meeting, October 12th, 2021 executive session, utility service board and Dayton Town Council, and then November 2nd, 2021 executive session and special meeting. We just got those a couple days ago, so we'll approve those in December. Public comments. Do we have it? Will you please state your name and address for the record?
Nancy Oswald, 762 Shady Lane. And let me get my phone back up here. Ashley, did I hear you say that Tom Murtaugh is saying that this is going to be for other projects besides warehousing for the TIF district that they're taking care of?
I think it's premature to think that everything out there is going to be warehouses. I think that's wrong.
So what do you think that he's thinking?
Well, Tom Murtaugh doesn't own land, property owners own it, okay? So those property owners, may or may not have buyers, and I have no assumptions as to what their buyers would do with the land, but in my travels and stuff, and I can see, some residential housing in that area. I can see, some small businesses, yes, I can see warehouses out there. I think there's many possibilities that can be out there.
Well, I did remember watching Mr. Murtaugh being interviewed on TV 18 about all of this, after this was passed.
Okay.
And one thing that was very interesting, because I remember him saying this, is that, quote unquote, Murtaugh says that the plan was always for industrial development. And he says mixed-use projects aren't realistic in that area. So he has no plan for this to be anything but to be industrial with warehouses, what have you. It's nothing that is going to be where it's going to benefit Dayton. When you drive through Dayton on 38, that's going to be nothing but an eyesore. And I personally don't want to see that, but it's too late. He's going to have his way now. And I would think that you would, being a Dayton resident, would have been more for working towards making something that would be good for the town of Dayton. Industrial development, that's not for the good for the town of Dayton, do you think?
you're trying to blame me for this, I guess, it kind of sounds like.
Yeah, the only thing I'm saying is that I don't see you working with the board. I always see you working against. You went, I mean, even Murtaugh speaks about you being on board with all of this. And you're saying that you weren't, but he's saying that you are. So there's some contradiction going here, that's all I'm gonna say, but, yeah.
I'm on board with working with city and county in that area. I think this town board should be part of that discussion.
Can you please say your name, address for the record?
Cindy Marsh, 749 Shady Lane, Dayton. I'm real interested in this election thing, Jen. So, am I to understand that we don't have a copy that says filed by the clerk of Tippecanoe County?
Correct. Julie did email me, so I do have a copy that is stamped by the election board, but it still does not have the clerk of Tippecanoe County's stamp on it, like the previous ones have.
Okay, I've looked into this quite a bit, and I could be wrong, but I don't think anywhere it says that the ordinance has to be filed with the Board of Elections.
Right.
Everywhere it says it's filed with the clerk. And this should be very familiar to a lot of us that have been around here a while, because just a few years ago, there was a big, what the Journal and Courier called snafu in Dayton, where up to the last minute, we thought we were voting for 2 wards, and then suddenly, the Board of Elections calls and says, no, you're voting for 3. And so like Tyrone was running in 1 and he had to move over to 3, and it was just a mess, all at the last minute. And we'd already had 1 election by the voting ordinance that they said was never filed. But no one in Dayton could produce a copy that said filed with the court, filed with the clerk, and the clerk's office couldn't find a copy that said filed with the clerk. And so they went back to the previous ordinance, which was back to 3 wards. So do not give up, please, in getting a copy stamped by the clerk.
Yeah.
And you know, it is frankly infuriating to see people sitting here scoffing and making faces and trying to ridicule people for trying to do the right thing and make sure we don't have another mess like we were in a few years ago. But I, for one, thank you for doing it, Jen. And can I get a copy of that letter, please? That you sent that
Sure.
they're trying to say that they've already taken care of it?
Sure.
Thank you. That's all.
The letter I sent to them.
Yes.
Anyone else? Public comments? Oh, that's not the public. Council comments. Ashley? Stan?
No.
Ron? Hold on. Carla?
No.
It's gonna take a long time. Ron?
I didn't have anything, but I'm gonna add something now. Just to make this understood and clear, all last year, actually, as far as what Tom Murtaugh wants and stuff, when I was the president's board, every time I talked to him, I begged him to come out here, and he adamantly wanted warehousing. He didn't say mixed use, part use, little bit of use, anything. He wanted mixed, he wanted all warehouses, all industrial warehouses, not for town, but for SIA. Never anything on anything else. The land all south of these warehouses is all taken up by a truck place now. So basically, the old board set it in motion, and 2/3 of this land up there is ruined for the entrance of our town. But
Ashley, can you sign this before you go?
he didn't like to listen to the truth because he's a damn liar is what he is.
Actually, you're out of order.
Ron talks about many meetings.
Anyway,
It's November.
Guthrie Card, last
That
year,
doesn't make it right.
That's okay, Ron, talk to you guys.
so all I'm saying is Tom Murtaugh change it, why should we work with somebody that doesn't do what's good for this town? I'm glad we're all sticking together and we're working to get some kind of a mixed development for this town. The builders up there don't care, the people selling the land don't care, and when the landowner says to me and Ashley a couple of years ago, hurry up and build that Yost Drive before the people start bitching, you know what they've got in mind, so. Anyway, it's completely taken against what the town of Dayton wants, so that's all I got to say.
Thank you. All right, I just have one thing. Our Okra grant application is going to be submitted tomorrow, and Mark helped me out today with last minute questions, because he had all the numbers in his brain. So, we should hear something by mid-December. I'm super excited.
That's soon.
Yeah. So, that was it. Anything else? All right, having no other business before us, this meeting is adjourned.
Mark, it's very